And that is a great intro.
It's the longest intro in all of television. This is...
Good evening. I'm Peggy Venable. Thank you for joining us on The Beauty of Politics. Do you think they thought that was the beauty of politics?
And that had nothing to do with beauty or politics. It was just that you showed the State House. Lightning hits it like that Back to the Future scene where they come back from the 50s to the 80s.
Yes.
You're not familiar with that, are you?
Yes, I am. But I'm just wondering how long you want to guest host this show, because the producers are right in there and they could just yank you at any moment.
I'm negatively reinforcing the improvement of the show.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Peggy Venable, and with me tonight, Tim Young, author. We'll talk a little bit about the success that he's had just this week. We're also delighted to actually have someone dignified with us this evening, and that is State Representative David Simpson, District 7. He's from Longview.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Well, you know, you had to talk about the intro, so that kind of put us off, but we actually were discussing the fact that we're planning the show during the intro.
Because we have 20 minutes to plan the show during the 20-minute intro. I mean, somebody pulled out a MIDI keyboard and made that song. Probably took them 3 months. God bless you, whoever did it.
I love the intro. I love that.
I like the whole.
You know, and the fact is, did you like it?
Yes.
It was kind of exciting, wasn't it? Well,
He's
the
just
fact
being nice
is,
because he's a politician.
the beauty of politics. Actually, I think he's an honest politician.
He
That doesn't mean
is.
they're always nice. That they will tell you the truth is what we're counting on tonight. But you know, this show, The Beauty of Politics, means it's really not about politics. It is truly about our political system and what a beautiful system we have, with all the flaws and everything else. Because we know that no Democratic Republic is going to actually be perfect, is it? Because people aren't.
No, it's not, and that's why we need to restrain it to its proper place and just get out of the way when we're not either punishing a wrongdoer that harms his neighbor and won't rectify it, or defending us from our enemies, or enforcing contracts. It just limit it to protecting individual liberty and property.
That's why it's fun to have you on the show. Do you want to tell people what you were doing today? Because I was there some of the time too, and we can talk just a little bit about that.
Sure. There's a great organization called Patriot Academy, where 15-year-olds to 25-year-olds get to do what I did. In fact, I got to watch my sons sit in the seat where I sit and debate the bills.
Right there in the Capitol
right
floor,
in the Capitol.
in the House chamber.
Great learning experience. In fact, when I spoke before that body, the mock legislature, I was pretty intimidated.
You were. Smart kids.
They knew what they were doing.
Are the kids better than the actual legislators?
I think many of them probably are. I learned a lot.
Yeah, well, don't say that. That was a Jimmy Carter mistake in 76, wasn't it, or 80, when he said he learned from his daughter. Don't say that one.
No problem.
No, I think he got foreign policy advice from his daughter. Amy,
That's right,
didn't he?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was foreign policy advice. That I'm a little leery of. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you have a new grandbaby that was there too, don't you?
Houston David, named for the...
I love that name, Houston David. Adorable. How old is he?
He's almost 3 months.
3 months old, and he was probably ready to pass legislation, wasn't he?
Well, he was lobbying today with his voice.
Exactly.
Also crying like other representatives do on the floor.
Well, that's what I was
it
referring to.
Yeah, exactly. Squeaky wheel.
That's right.
It works.
Oh my goodness. Oh, what do we have in store for us tonight, I tell you. Well, I have to say this about the Patriot Academy. I have such respect for Rick Green and Kathy C., who is on your staff now, who has really seen and developed that Patriot Academy. Right now, it's also includes adults. I think they had their first adult track this time. I get to speak there every year, and I'm grateful to have that opportunity. But I'm so impressed. Now they have kids. It started out just kids from Texas, and now it's kids from all over the country, isn't it?
That's right. Over 110 of them
Wow.
this year. Most of them are still from Texas, but from all over.
You're right. I talked to one, though, from Louisiana, another one from North Dakota.
Yeah, so it's
So-
international then.
That's right. If you include those states, it has to be international. You're so right. But they're smart kids, and as I travel around the state, inevitably I see there'll be some kids that'll come up to me and say, I heard you speak, or I'm going to Patriot Academy. Very exciting. I'm just really impressed with what they've done. And of course, the key is what?
Understanding the role of government,
Right.
also having the self-control, the integrity, not to use your powers in the legislature beyond what you were supposed to do, to keep your oath. When
What
you
a
can
novel idea.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I love about it, too, is the kids at the Patriot Academy have to carry around a golf ball.
And it's easy to lose, just like your integrity.
That's exactly what it's about.
That's to remind them that when they're president, they should take 3 months off a year to golf.
I don't think that's what it's for, but count on the comedian among us to think of that.
Oh.
It actually is, if they lose their golf ball, that means they have lost their integrity, and they're forced to sing or do something embarrassing, aren't they?
That's
Sing
right.
before the group.
That's right.
I'd be singing all the time, but I saw where Rick Green found a golf ball at the lunch. So somebody ended up singing. I missed it. I'm sorry I did.
Well, it's to show how easy it is to lose your integrity on the house floor, a hotel room, in a bathroom. We all can think of illustrations of where that might happen.
Boy, we have, haven't we? You're just covering the whole political
Yeah.
spectrum right there in that statement.
I lost my integrity in a bathroom at 6:59.
I don't know where that's coming from. I
Yeah.
really
I
don't
don't know
know
what
him.
that
He
means.
just walked in from the street
I don't know what that
to
means.
co-host
I have
today.
no idea. No.
Well, you know, we're going to be talking about some exciting topics tonight too, and want to make sure that we now, I think on the schedule, we're supposed to go to a video, and if our producers are ready, we're going to head to video right now.
They're not ready.
The emergency crews hadn't left the scene of the Colorado Theater shooting before a lot of lawmakers, politicians, and members of the media were already asking questions about how gun laws have to change. But what questions about the shooting are the media not asking? Ben has the reality check you won't see anywhere else.
We're going to look at this debate from two angles. Tonight, part one, the questions the national media aren't asking. I don't need to go into a lot of details on this shooting because most every American is familiar with the basics. Police say 24-year-old James Holmes went into that theater in Aurora, Colorado. He was dressed in black, wearing a tactical helmet, vest, and leggings, as well as throat and groin protectors. Police say Holmes used an AR-15 assault rifle, a Remington shotgun, and a .40 caliber Glock handgun during that attack. And police say they found a second .40 caliber Glock inside of his car. The question being asked, how could he be allowed to buy those guns legally in Colorado? The question not being asked, how does an unemployed graduate student afford to buy them? Look, a decent AR-15 rifle costs $1,000 or more all by itself. The shotgun and the two handguns would easily run another $1,000 total. Spare mags, sights, slings, and so on, you're going to run another $1,000 across those three firearms. The bulletproof vest, that's easily another $800. And then you have all the money spent on bomb-making materials. Which brings us to our next question. As you know, police say that Holmes rigged his apartment with an incredibly complicated maze of fire bombs. But on the day he was arrested, he immediately told police about the bombs. Why? So our second question, where did this graduate student in neuroscience learn how to make a series of bombs so complicated that the FBI took 2 days to figure out how to disarm them? One official said the intricacy of these bombs is something rarely seen outside of war zones. He had a tripwire set behind the door to kill anyone who opened it. And yet, after setting this intricate death trap, decides to warn police about it before someone's killed? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Neither does what police are saying about this being a lone wolf attack.
All the evidence we have, every single indicator is that this is all Mr. Holmes's activity and that he wasn't particularly aided by anyone else.
But is that true? Eyewitness reports from the scene indicate that Holmes got a phone call from someone inside the theater, and also that tear gas was thrown from more than one location.
He got a phone call, and most people, when they get phone calls in theaters, they go straight out into the lobby to answer it. This person went directly to the emergency exit. He had his foot propped open by the door, and from the crack, it looked like he was signaling somebody or looking for somebody to come his way.
As I was sitting down to get my seat, I noticed that a person came up to the front row, to the front right, sat down, and as credits were going, I know it seemed like he got a phone call. So he went out towards the emergency exit doorway, which I thought was unusual, to take a phone call.
From what we saw, he wasn't alone. He had someone with him because the second can of tear gas didn't come from his side.
So what you need to know is that there are so many questions about what really happened in Colorado. Questions we don't have answers to, and we may never have answers to. What is unfortunate is that instead of really digging into why this apartment would be rigged to kill, but then Holmes would then warn police and then lawyer up and not say anything else, where he got the funding and the firearms training, and these eyewitness reports that there was more than one person, instead of asking those questions, national media want to focus all their attention on why guns were legal in the first place. National media seem too busy playing the political game, not busy enough looking into what really happened. And that is Reality Check.
If you'd like to make your voice heard on the story, head over to Ben's Facebook page. You can find it by searching.
Wow, was that really a reality check?
It was sobering.
You know, well, I have to tell you, from my perspective, I'm thinking, aren't the media supposed to answer questions, not ask all these questions? And it seemed to me like that was not really a reality check.
Well, there's been a slant with the media with this entire situation where they want to go after the NRA and actually guns in general. They're blaming guns for this, not a crazy kid that had all the time, to create all these tripwires and things. And I've seen this guy before. He's kind of the conspiracy theorist guy for the local Fox networks. He's probably got many, many more theories as to how. I've heard every story about how this kid had military training at some point and how he's part of some sort of larger program that he snuck out of.
Isn't it kind of early or ridiculous for us to do this type of speculation now? I mean, it's kind of like going over the JFK assassination and the grassy knoll. I mean, they were trying to speculate these different things. The key is, it was such a tragedy. And I think we all know that if people in the theater, if someone had had a gun, if people in the theater had had their firearms, lives could have been saved, right?
That's right. And government shouldn't take away the right of self-defense. We made that an area where you couldn't defend yourself in such a case. And criminals are never going to obey the gun-free zones.
Good point.
Also, they can run rampant when we ban normal citizens from having their own firearms. I don't think you have to worry about that here in Texas as much as where I came from in Maryland, where the Supreme Court's already stomped them a couple of times for their handgun laws and, in fact, making it overly difficult to obtain weapons. So, again, I think that was a no-gun city. It was guns were banned in Aurora, Colorado.
Was that the case?
Yeah, I believe so. So
wow.
That would have made a major difference.
Well, and then that makes it so easy for a criminal who will have guns and break the law to go in and know that this audience will not have firearms with them. And of course, it goes back to the story, the Luby story, the Luby shooting, and the former state rep who, did you serve with Susanna Hupp?
No, this is my first term.
Well, Susanna Hupp was not a state legislator at the time, but had her firearm in her vehicle. But because she is, I think, a chiropractor, she knew if she carried it in a facility that said no firearms, that she could lose her license. So she thought, consciously thought, I better leave it in the car. And that's when the shooting happened at Luby's outside Temple, and her parents were killed.
In front of her eyes.
Right there where she was with them, exactly in front of her eyes.
But we're to a point now where you're not allowed to defend yourself because it's wrong to defend yourself. I mean, you never know. I mean, you have to take a look at what the media did and dare I say the Trayvon Martin case, where we still don't know all the evidence and what happened there and how they quickly villainized. Gosh, I forget the guy's name already. That's terrible, right? I don't have my little info. But they villainized the guy who shot Trayvon Martin without really knowing all the evidence, without taking a look at the entire thing, and they caused an outrage across the country. I mean, President Obama even used it as a political stunt at some point.
And all the Twitters from some of the celebrities that were giving out his home address and things like that.
Well, they were giving out the wrong addresses.
And the wrong address, exactly.
Yeah, that was, gosh, that was the, I don't know any names today.
Rosanna Barr was one of them.
Well, yeah, I have not done my homework on Trayvon Martin.
But
and what we got to remember is that we should always have that right of self-defense, and the government's duty is to protect that right. The government, with all its good intentions, with all its means, cannot protect everybody. And we need to treat people as adults and not as minors. The first protection is ourselves and our families. And when you remove that ability, you make the society open for criminals.
You bet.
And I will say this though, they made a big point on that video about how did he get the money to buy all these guns, how did he get the money to support all this stuff. Think about the average college student's spending. They spend probably about $100 a week drinking. That's $5,000 right there. And then it's not even a joke. Like, and then you think about all the money that they spend going out, all the junk that they buy. When it adds up, I mean, you can really. I had season tickets to the Baltimore Orioles when I was in college, and that was a couple $1,000s. And that was on top of doing other things because I had the money to do it. If I have the money to do that, then you can certainly have the amount of money to go and buy assault weapons.
Well, that was a question that, of course, they raised there on that Fox News commentary that we had in the break. I guess the key to me, though, isn't it government's role to protect our constitutional rights? And not to make judgments, but to protect those constitutional rights. And clearly our Constitution says that we have the right to bear arms, which means that government should not abridge that right.
That's right. And even more fundamental than just firearms is the right to defend yourself. It's a God-given right. It's you cannot separate it legitimately from someone unless you use that force to harm someone. And it's just wrong for the government to take that away, whether firearms or other means of protecting yourself.
Right.
Let's switch topics, because I have done research on you. I've done some research.
This gets dangerous.
No, it doesn't, because you wrote a piece of legislation that I completely agree with about the TSA. I hate the TSA. And just for the folks at home, do you want to tell us about that legislation, and we can?
Well, basically, it was a bill that prohibited the touching of our private parts as a condition of travel or to entering a public building. It just said you had to have probable cause before you treated someone like a criminal in order to get on a plane or to access a public building. And it didn't ban all the scanners or metal detectors, or it just said you've got to have probable cause before you can treat someone so intrusively and personally. And it was to restore freedom and dignity to travel.
Now, why was that controversial? I saw this on the Huffington Post, and I saw people being like outraged at what you wrote. And I don't understand why that's controversial. You know, it's not. You're keeping people protected. You're protecting the individual traveler from being overly groped, basically, by these TSA folks who are not, they're not really law enforcement. I don't know what they are. They're kind of like a hybrid.
In fact, they're doing things that law enforcement should not do unless they have reasonable suspicion or probable cause. And the reason why they're doing it is we give our consent. And we need to push back. I've only taken one flight since I filed that bill, and I made room for traveling the next day because I'm not going to allow them to do that unless I'm under duress. Now, not everybody can do that, but we've got to stop saying yes to the government when it's doing something that's overreaching, that's taking away our constitutional or God-given rights. We've got to refuse. I do it peaceably, but say this is the wrong way to do it. There's lots of other ways that we can enable our nation to be free and safe. And the terrorists have won under the present policy.
But Representative Simpson, I saw so much media and so many blog posts and so many people supported your legislation. You got national attention for having proposed that legislation. What happened to it? Would you remind folks what happened with that legislation?
Well, it passed the House unanimously. And there was a few people who didn't get onto it, and there was one female legislator until she was actually groped in a very private place. She signed on to the bill that day. It wasn't a partisan bill. It was unanimously passed. But then it went to the Senate, and then there was a threat made by the Department of Justice. I didn't know what the delay was. We had about 30 of the 31 senators ready to pass the bill. The lieutenant governor waited and kept it from coming to the floor until this threat to make Texas basically a no-fly zone was given. We didn't have much time to respond. They circulated among the senators. They got enough to block the bill procedurally from proceeding.
So we chickened out.
Yeah,
we did not say bring it on.
That's right. It was a come and take it moment. It was like Gonzales, and we should have stood up and said, no, this is wrong to allow people to such invasive touching without having some reason of suspicion.
Now, are you going to bring it back again? Is that it, or are you?
Yes, I will. I've been asked to many, many times. It was voted on unanimously by Gregg County's Republican Party to support it. It does have overwhelming support, I believe, around the state. Later, the governor, in fact, it was when I was on this show that the governor finally called it 2/3 through the special session, but it was so late then, and with the speaker's delay and allowing it to come to the floor, and then basically refusing to bring it to the floor on the day that it was on the calendars, and he told the media that it was making a laughingstock of the Texas House, and it passed unanimously. It wasn't a publicity stunt. It's about returning and restoring dignity and freedom to travel. We're picking on the handicapped, the weak, the infirmed, especially
little kids.
Yeah. Now, thankfully, they have made some changes. I do think we've made an impact in showing the unreasonableness of it. The Fourth Amendment of our U.S. Constitution and of our Texas Bill of Rights protects us against unreasonable searches, not only of our houses and our papers, but of our persons.
Right.
And the scanners, basically, until they put in the modeling, and they still collect a virtually naked image, that we don't put cameras in our bathrooms, though they can be used criminally. But it's to protect people's dignity and privacy, and we shouldn't do that as a condition of travel. So I do hope the leadership of this state will support it. It's something that we should be fed up with and say no. It was a come and take it moment.
No question, and we missed it.
And you've got to be on every TSA list now, known to man. They probably, when they know you're traveling, they're like, here comes this guy. We got to get him.
Wow.
I got to tell you, though, this happened to me, and true story, this happened to me in China every time I went through any Chinese airport, and I was pretty much beat up. But the people who were doing it were actually like 25-year-old Asian women, and I had no problems really with the whole situation.
Why would I know that? Let's say, never mind. Well, interestingly, Lori and I went to Write Online in New Orleans, in Las Vegas, and Lori, for some reason, got pulled to the side.
They spelled absolute wrong. Absolute.
Well,
rights.
Remember, this is a live program.
It's like a rare elk.
As I was going to say, they pulled Lori out and were giving her a pat down. And I had already gone through, and her things had already gone through the magnetometer. And I picked up her jewelry, just in the little thing, picked it up so that no one else did, and was holding it for her. And they said, "Did you touch her things?" Well, yes, I'm holding her jewelry. Well, then they said I had to get a pat down. I was madder than a hornet, as you might imagine. I was not a pleasant person right there. It was so ridiculous. I've already been through, I cleared, I'm picking up something that's already gone through, and because I touched something of hers,
and making someone take an empty milk bottle and Mother Express milk into it, incredible. Right. They're just way out of line.
It is way out of line.
It needs to stop. We need to abolish the TSA.
Well, thank you so much for that legislation and for the attention that it did bring to that issue and to Texas. I thought it was positive.
Why nobody else thought of this first blows my mind. I'm glad that you did it. I think it's just absolutely common sense. ABSOLUTELY, producer.
Out of work comic. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what happens when you challenge the producer.
And it's not just the TSA, though. Right here in the state of Texas, the Houston PD has a strategy of randomly searching people on municipal buses, doing it under the color of the TSA. Now, I don't think our state police have that authority under the Constitution, but because of the TSA, they said this is a legitimate strategy to randomly search people on a municipal bus in Houston, Texas, or to interrogate them when they're getting off. That is heading in the wrong direction.
You bet it is.
Texas was made great because of freedom, not because of government intrusion.
So you drew that line in the sand, didn't you?
That's right, and we need another come and take it battle.
Yes, we do. Bring it on.
Amen. But I think the people will do that.
I think so too. I thank you for that leadership, and I think it's great if Texas is considered a laughingstock among the liberals. Please laugh.
You know, it was interesting. I mean, the liberals, the conservatives, the Democrats, the Republicans,
everyone on the House floor.
They were all in favor, actually, of the bill.
Right.
So I wish our leadership had really led the charge.
Well, let's just say the polls are closed now. and Lieutenant Governor, who seemed like hesitated far too long and didn't use that come and take it moment as he might have. What is your speculation on the Senate race tonight? Do you care to speculate the U.S. Senate race with Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst versus Ted Cruz?
I'm not going to speculate.
Oh, I will. What about you?
Wasn't this on the don't ask him that question? That was told. We were told not to. Yeah, you're funny. We were told not to ask these questions before, while we had 20 minutes with the intro.
Not true. Not true.
I'll tell you what
What do you think?
I'd rather not.
Yeah, I have to say, I was
You have an opinion, though, on this.
I do have an opinion. Thank you for asking someone.
What do you think, Peggy?
Okay, what do you
That's
think?
amazing.
I was in Houston at the
Woodlands?
The Woodlands. Thank you. The Woodlands event for Ted Cruz Friday night. It was where Sarah Palin and Senator Jim DeMint were speaking, and it was amazing to see that it was an enormous crowd. And I don't mind telling you, it was hot. It was hot. But on my way there, I got a call from a New York Times reporter. And I'm not generally on their speed dial. Let me just share that with you. I don't generally get a call on occasion, but not every day. But he said, I have a question for you. He said, what is all the excitement about Ted Cruz? And I said, well, I can tell you, but why are you asking? He said, well, because it seems like they're both conservative. And I said, well, the fact is, what we want is not just conservative, a New York Times designated conservative. We really need someone who will boldly stand up for our constitutional rights in the U.S. Senate and who will be a leader among conservatives in the Senate. We don't want a career politician or go along to get along, or someone who's going to hesitate and miss that come and take it moment, as you would say. So I have been an unabashed supporter of Cruz. The election's over now, so I could say that. Not on behalf of Americans for Prosperity, but me personally, because AFP doesn't support candidates. And it'll be interesting to see how the election goes this evening. So if we get any election results, we're kind of checking our computers. If we get election results, we'll be glad to share it with our viewers. But it should be an interesting night.
Yes, and thankfully
will we come and take it?
I hope so. I'm encouraged. The reinforcement's coming.
Right.
There's some liberty-loving conservatives that I'm encouraged to
You bet.
seek.
I traveled across the state, and Tea parties across the state very pro-Cruz. And yet David Dewhurst has labored in the Republican Party for years and years. He has given to Republican women's groups and to Republican organizations, and yet it's kind of it is a come-and-take-it moment, I think, in Texas. So we'll see what Texans decided to do today.
Amen.
I can say this, though. I offered to go and actually work with young people for David Dewhurst for their campaign. And look, you spelled it right. Congratulations. And they never called me. So best of luck.
Not sure why you did that.
If
but
he loses,
then
he didn't
he
call.
missed. It's because he did not call Tim Young.
I'm a game
sure of
changer.
it. He is a game changer. Representative Simpson, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have to scoot out. We're going to go to a video, and again, thank you for your leadership in the House. We look forward to having you back.
Tim, it's good to meet you.
Nice meeting you, and thank you for your work, honestly. You've done such a great job. I knew about you before I came to Texas, probably more than Peggy knew in preparing for this, but but I had heard about the TSA thing before, and I think that's awesome, and really do keep up the good work.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your encouragement.
Thank
and
you.
I look forward to reading your book. I think
That's
you're going to
right.
tell some
I don't know
people
about
about
that.
it.
We're going to
talk about that later.
later.
I will self-promote for hours, though, so let's...
Yes, he will.
Thank
you. And I'll have a little talk to him during this video. But I think we're about to go to a video. Thank you so much. Stay with us. It's going to be an exciting second half hour.
Born and bred in the U.S. of A., land of the free, home of the brave. Hoping it always stay that way, but they're taking away liberties God gave. you're trying to punk me. That's why me thinking socialism's taking what's so hard, then they take your pay. Ow! Why should you work when you can be a jerk? Vote for crooks who will take your neighbor's stuff away, 'cause they're just a bunch of phonies paying off their cronies, saying they won't raise taxes. We know that's baloney. That's why me thinking socialism's taking our money and freedom's gone away. If you want to be free, take responsibility. Stand up now or your American dream is dead. If they tax and take more and more of what you make, hey, do you think you will ever get ahead? They take from producers, bail out losers. They don't help, they demoralize. They create a moral hazard, lead us to disaster. They ain't fit to serve the country they despise. We're losing our freedom to elitist tyranny. Say no to Kool-Aid, wake up and smell the tea. Oh yeah, that's why me thinking socialism's taking what's so hard, then they take your pay. Ow! Why should you work when you can be a jerk? Vote for crooks who will take your neighbor's stuff away, 'cause they're just a bunch of phonies paying off their cronies, saying they won't raise taxes. We know that's baloney. That's why me thinking socialism's taking our money and our freedom's gone away. Gone away now. Freedom. Don't let him turn the lights out.
Do you know this person in this video? Go ahead.
You know, that just looks like a crime scene
Just
after
arrows
that, didn't
pointing to
it?
things and
Yeah, dead bodies
lines
and
and
outlined.
bird droppings and
But
just
that was a great
amazing.
video song, and that was by Janie Veramy.
She was singer-songwriter and violin on that. I don't know if you saw that
I
or
love
not.
that.
She was violin
you were reading
as well.
the credits. Good for you.
Well, they went on for a while.
I thought that was really great. That was a lot of fun. Well, it was great having Representative Simpson on, but now we get to talk about your favorite topic.
Me.
You,
I know.
exactly, and your book. So do tell, I understand that you hit a real milestone.
Number
with
one
your
in
book.
political humor on Absolute Rights, on Amazon.com.
Wow.
Number one in biographies of politicians. I don't know how it got into that
Are you
category.
serious?
Number
Wow.
one there as well. We beat out Karl Marx earlier today. So
I guess Romney's probably not too excited about this.
well, he's not. He doesn't read. He has somebody read to him. He's that rich. But here's the cover of the book. You can get it on your Kindle. That's my iPad with the background falling in. 50 Shades of Romney. Here's a hint. They're all white. We only had one negative review so far, and it was clearly somebody who didn't read the book and said that they won't read anything racist. They said that my title of the book was racist because it said something about him being white. It is racist, but white people can't be racist against white people.
Well, who knew? So you have all positive reviews. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And number one.
And number one.
very excited.
What was that?
Well, he is a big deal. I'm not sure.
That was awesome. What font was that? I want to know so I can.
Well, tell a little bit about what are some of the more interesting things in the book.
Oh, well, I'll tell you a couple of things.
I have not read it, but I do plan to. So I apologize.
Why would you prepare for a show?
Exactly.
You didn't know anything. You didn't know the guy's name. You were like, what was your name again?
If I knew the name, I didn't remember his district.
Stansbury. What was the? And you're from where? Texas.
It's all about Tim. All about Tim.
Do we have a tight shot so I can talk about the book or no? I only talk in tight shots. Forget it. Don't worry about it. Hey, look, I know it's stressful to like move cameras and stuff. It's tough. You guys did that sound effect thing. There was a lot. Anyway, listen. The best part of the book.
Would you like me to leave the set while you talk about it? Would that make you feel better?
Come on.
I don't think it's going to you. It knows better.
Anyway, there's one right there. There we go. Look at that. So,
whoa.
The best part about the book, I've taken over. The best part about the book is there was a time in Massachusetts when he was governor that he actually started charging blind people to prove that they were blind. That's my absolute favorite thing that he's done. He started charging $10 a year. They had to get certified blind. This was the first time, I think, in most states that handicapped people have been charged to prove that they're handicapped. And then every 4 years, they had to get an identification card, again, that said they were blind. So, really, that blows my mind. The guy will charge handicapped people to prove that they're handicapped. And he could be the next president of the United States. Welcome back, Peggy.
Oh,
Peggy,
no.
welcome to the show.
Oh, no, you wanted it all on you. So I'm going to sit here silently.
Yeah. No, and I also, and in the book, too, we talk about how this is the absolute worst presidential race in our lifetime. Everybody always says this is the most exciting presidential race of our lifetime. This is the most important race of our lifetime.
I'd say it's the most important one.
The most important of our lifetime. Every time it's the same thing. So my ex-girlfriend used to say that I was the best boyfriend she's ever had, which to me says if something's annoying and in your face, people are likely to lie about it.
Wow, now that's a big one to follow. I'm not sure how one would address that.
This is the worst election ever. This is like, if you follow baseball, it's like the two worst teams playing and you only have about 3,000 people show up to the game. And they're not giving away bobbleheads this time around. So it's just...
You know what? I can't agree with you. I cannot agree with you. Look at how much Obama has spent. Look at our national debt under Obama.
Bad.
He is bad. You think that Romney is going to be worse? I don't.
I think he's just as bad.
I don't.
I think he's just as bad. He's been. You take a look at. So let's look at his record. What has he done? What did he do as governor of Massachusetts? What was his big success as governor of Massachusetts?
Oh, Massachusetts healthcare. Probably what everyone knows about.
Romneycare, that he then...
That is the state did it.
Advised Obama on Obamacare.
Doesn't mean he thinks that the federal government should be doing it. Let me just say, I'm not here to support Romney, but I am here to say I believe that Obama is the worst president of my lifetime, and we cannot do worse.
He's the worst in my lifetime.
Well,
he's definitely the worst
your life is a lot
president
shorter than mine, so that doesn't matter, but it really...
I'm 70. I have a really good doctor. So.
We'll need to know your doctor.
I actually was not alive during the Carter administration, so.
Oh my gosh! To put all that in perspective, wow. Oh well, I have to tell you, we're looking at the election results, and we're talking about the Texas primary runoff now, and it does look like right now, with only 3% reporting, and yet it looks like Ted Cruz is 52 and Dewhurst 47.6.
Well, let's. You have to remember this reruns later in the week when we'll know the results.
I think
so. Let's pretend that we know the results.
We'll know the results this evening. No question about it.
Let's pretend that we know them though for the reruns.
For the reruns, no. Let's don't.
Dewhurst squeaks it out.
That's okay. That would be quite amazing if you predict that and that happens. I don't think anyone's predicting that.
I love the cover of your iPad. It is so green. Okay.
It is green, isn't it? I know.
But no, so the book, though, really, Romney is the worst Republican candidate. I think he just edges out Bob Dole. He hasn't fallen off a stage yet. If he could just fall off a stage, I think he'd catch up.
Oh, dear.
The debates are going to be terrible. You know the debates are going to be terrible.
No, I don't know that they're going to be terrible.
I think Obama's going to come across as a very like personable. No, I think he's going to come across as personable. I think he's going to sit back. He's going to let Romney talk, and then he's going to have one zinger after another on him.
Are you going to be advising him?
I don't think he needs it. I think he's ready to go. You have to remember this guy is the first really Hollywood president. I mean,
there you go.
He's been working on this for a while. He's worked on his little character, and he's.
Well, let's talk Chick-fil-A. Let's change topics.
Okay.
We're going to talk Chick-fil-A. I think we're about to go to a video. Is that what our producers are trying to tell us? In 30 seconds. So isn't that amazing? The whole Chick-fil-A fiasco. I mean, do we have free speech? I don't know.
We don't. We don't have free speech. We have free speech up until the point where it offends
anyone
at all. I know this is a comic.
You open your mouth and offend people.
I have offended a lot of people already.
Isn't that what a comic does?
You should have seen her face when I said her daughter was hot. That I offend people regularly. You're trying to hold it back, but you can't. Do we have a clip or no?
Here we go.
Chick-fil-A. I could eat there 7 times a day, where the people laugh and children play. Oh, I'm in love with Chick-fil-A. Suddenly, I need waffle fries in front of me, with some nuggets and a large sweet tea. Oh, Chick-fil-A, you set me free. Kids, get in the van so we can go there today. But their stores are closed, oh I know, 'cause it's Sunday. Chick-fil-A. What a dirty, rotten trick to play. Now I have to settle for Subway. Oh, I'm in love with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A.
Funny thing.
No, that was a great tribute to the Eat More Chicken cows, don't you think?
The
Chick-fil-A
I fell asleep
song.
during that video.
I
don't know what happened. That's like Southern funny to me. That's like that just doesn't do it. Maybe I need to put a wig on and wear some nipple shirts on stage with a guitar. That'll be funny stuff in the South. You know, the irony is I bet that guy's really upset about the president of Chick-fil-A this week, right? Right? You get that?
You know, I have to tell you, the producers, I think, really are going to have it in for you the next show
really
if you choose to come back.
You know, BOP, by the way, in Baltimore was Brick Oven Pizza. It was a fantastic place you eat when you're drunk.
I'm getting hungry just hearing that. But the whole Chick-fil-A controversy, again, Sarah Palin was in Texas at the event there in the Woodlands, and you're right, we can hear them. And Sarah Palin left the event and said she was going to Chick-fil-A. I think that caused quite a stir. I then saw it on one of the Fox News shows that Sarah Palin had gone to the Chick-fil-A in the Houston area, the Woodlands, after the Ted Cruz event.
Glenn Beck at his Restoring Love event bought about 1,000 or 1,500 meals from Chick-fil-A for his volunteers.
It's where we're going after the show. What can I say?
Not me. No. I don't eat fast food, and I thought Chick-fil-A was pretty terrible to begin with. But that's let me tell you.
You're not going to support someone's right. Even liberals are supporting his right to say what he said.
I think that he has a right to say what he said. But I think when you get politicians involved or people that are out to make a buck, like Sarah Palin, who's only out to make a buck at this point, not that I'm not, but she is, when she's charging $50,000 an appearance or whatever she charges now, it just blows the whole thing out of control. when you have her stopping by and making sure that she takes a little picture at eating Chick-fil-A or whatever. I just think it's ridiculous. You know, let the guy say what he wants.
Now, Tim,
yeah.
if you were offered $50,000 to speak,
I'd do a lot of things for $50,000.
That doesn't surprise me.
I'm a sellout. I will, yeah.
He's just jealous that Sarah Palin is getting those offers and not him. That's the deal.
Well, I mean, I didn't, quit my job as Alaskan governor to go make a buck. So, I guess I just need to go there and become governor first.
Wow.
She made about $30 million after she quit being governor, by the way, after 2 years.
It's pretty lucrative. I'd rather them make it after than while they are.
Maybe be a little genuine and serve the people that you were elected to represent, right?
I think she probably left in part because she had become such a lightning rod and so many lawsuits against Alaska and some of the decisions that she had made that maybe she did make the right decision to step down. I don't know. Alaska seems to be doing pretty well without her.
They're doing all right without her, but you have to remember too that Levi Johnson, the boy who also cashed in, who was Bristol's baby daddy or whatever he was saying the entire time that she was going to leave being governor to go get a book deal. And everybody was saying about him that he's just trying to make a buck and he's trying to make something out of nothing. And I'll be if a couple of months later she didn't leave the governorship and get a really big book deal on a deal with Fox News. I think she's just in it for the money. I've gotten beat up many times by my readers on Absolute Rights because I say that she's just in it for the money. I thought Herman Cain was just in it for the money as well. Like, you can get a lot of press.
I do think Herman Cain had a book to sell when he started running for president. I think he might have been surprised that he was catapulted to the popularity that he had there for a while.
Well, and Herman's a really fun character because he starts to feel ill if there aren't enough people on a convention floor before his appearance, and he can't make those appearances. It's pretty consistent that he just feels a little... I mean, there's no conclusive evidence that he's not sick, but if there's not enough people on the floor, his people will cancel the appearance because he is feeling sick and needs to stay in his room.
Actually, he's spoken at some Americans for Prosperity events and did a great job.
They were packed.
It was a packed house. Mm-hmm. You bet it was a packed house, and people were happy to hear from him.
I want better Republicans. I want a better Republican Party.
Who is a better Republican in your mind?
I think, honestly, you got Jeb Bush, you got Marco Rubio, I think Bobby Jindal. I think there are some great Republicans out there. I just think that they're still sitting on the bench. I don't think Chris Christie's all that good. When I see videos of him arguing with people on the Jersey Shore while trying to hold onto his ice cream cone, he's not a good person. Have you seen that video where he's like cussing back and forth with the guy on the Jersey Shore? I missed that
while his ice cream
he's holding his ice cream. He's making sure he doesn't lose his ice cream. Or he's arguing with people. I'm just tired of these. They're busters. They're busters. That's a term. That is a political term. These people are the worst candidates. You need not define
it. Yeah, I understand.
You take a look at these terrible candidates that we've had. We've had some real whack candidates. And folks that are just out for the money, they need to really rein in the Republican Party and put some real quality people out there. And that's one of the reasons I wrote this book, is because I'm so angry at what I've been presented this election cycle.
And do you think the Democrats are presenting great candidates and quality people?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I think that Hillary versus Obama was about the best that you could get out of that party.
Okay, that was the best you could get.
I think Hillary. Oh, and granted, like, I'm not a big fan of. Clearly, I'm not a fan of the Democratic Party. But when you take a look at who's there, Hillary's probably the candidate in 2016. If Obama doesn't, either way, she's probably going to be the candidate in 2016. She's been a pretty good
Secretary of State.
Yes, you can't deny that. I mean, even though she comes from a pretty powerful family, she can do pretty much anything she wants, and we don't agree with her policies necessarily. But as far as
actually, our economy did relatively well under Clinton.
We talked about this last time, though, because I think it was because of a lot of lying from Wall Street. And then when George Bush came in and actually started to regulate Wall Street fell apart because they were like, oh man, we actually have to show her real numbers now, and then everyone stopped investing.
So you're saying that it was all just, as we used the term, a house of cards.
It really was. It really was a house of cards. But when you take a look at the candidates this time, I'm really kind of excited for the next presidential election. We're going to probably be in a really terrible situation as a country by then.
Great news.
But I really think that the Republican Party will have a solid set of candidates. But I just don't understand what the party is thinking.
Why have we consistently nominated weaker candidates then? I will say McCain, I think, was such a disappointment to most Republicans and all conservatives.
He wasn't a conservative
when he was nominated. Of course he wasn't, and he's proven that time and time again.
Yeah.
So why do we end up nominating the worst of the field. Is that what you're...
Poor leadership.
Interesting.
Absolutely poor leadership. You take a look at somebody like Michael Steele. I mean, what was he doing? Nothing. He stuck around a little too long and just kind of went.
I don't think the chairman of the Republican Party is really who provides the leadership for the party, even though he has that position. I don't see that.
Well,
I think that
who's pulling the strings?
No one. No one should be pulling the strings. We, as conservatives or liberals, ought to be able to make decisions without someone at the top telling us who we need to decide on.
Well, but what if you had a good leader at the top that was actually organizing things for the Republican Party? Like, what if there was somebody that was decent, that was saying, like, that's wrong, that's not right, this is not what the people are saying?
I don't think that happens.
No.
I don't remember any time that we've actually had. Actually, Haley Barbour was a good RNC chairman, I believe.
And I'll tell you, I work with, I've been in the Congress a lot, and I saw a lot of things, and another big disappointment to me was John Boehner. I think John Boehner is a major disappointment. Here's a guy who, after he became Speaker of the House, decided to start, one of his priorities clearly was how he looked on TV, and he started using spray tan and he's orange. Come on. Come on. Who cares what you look like? Get the job done.
Well, clearly we need change, and this election we may get change. We'll see if the change is for the better. I don't know that we can get much worse.
I think, and I had spoken with someone earlier before the show, I think that if you elect Romney, instead of going 100 miles off the cliff, you go about 70 miles an hour off the cliff. I think you're still in the same direction.
Well, I have to say that we have seen that historically spending is worse when the same party controls the presidency and the Congress. So it doesn't really seem to matter that much if the Democrats or Republicans, if it's the same party. We certainly saw that in the past, and I give a presentation just based on that it's a sad commentary.
Well, I don't know. I just think that there needs to be some sort of reforming of at least the Republican Party, if not both political parties. That's the topic of my next book, actually, when I start writing, is how both parties have fallen from what they are supposed to be and who they were supposed to represent, and they really don't do it well anymore. I think you're spoiled because you have a very strong Republican Party here in Texas. I mean, when I went to that Texas GOP convention and I heard everyone arguing over who could cut more spending and keep taxes at a minimum, that blew my mind, because there's no other state, I guarantee you, out there that's functioning at that level.
It has changed. It used to be that conservative was kind of a dirty word. Don't use conservative budget plan or something like that. And now, as you see, all the candidates are wrapping their arms around and wanting to be called conservative. Everybody claims they're the most conservative candidate. Kind of interesting. I think that this election will shake some things up. I've seen more Tea Party activists engaged and involved. I think this will be an interesting election. I think we're going to see some real upsets. We're seeing it in the primary runoffs right now. And
I think you will. I think you're going to see some upsets. I think you're going to see some change. But nationally, I don't think you're going to. I think that's a local thing. I think that's a Texas thing. But I think nationally, you're not going to see much of a difference.
Oh, as Texas goes, the country will follow. Let us hope. We must lead the country.
It's not going to happen.
You don't think so?
No.
I do. I have to tell you, I'm very optimistic about our country and about this future, about her future, because I believe that more people are focused on returning to our constitutional rights. And I think the Ted Cruz campaign is a great example of that. I think people are not just good enough isn't good enough anymore. I think we're going to demand better.
I think that's a Texas thing. And, you have to remember, I just came here from D.C. and Maryland a couple of months ago, and I think if you spent maybe a month there, you'd probably be scared to death and realize that we aren't changing that much and that there isn't much hope left for what's going on.
Well, I used to live in Washington, and I have to say I haven't spent a lot of time there lately by choice. No question about that. Headed there tomorrow. But I still believe that there's an opportunity to take back America and that people are focused on it. We're going to see from this election just how much we're going to be willing to do there. I think it's time for us to sign off. My gosh, where's the time gone? Tim, thank you so much for joining us. It has been fun.
There's been spelling errors. We've learned a little bit about grammar.
Isn't live TV wonderful? We just love it. Thank you so much for joining us. Please join us every Tuesday, The Beauty of Politics. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
Be back.
Peggy, thank you.
It's been fun.
We're done early, so there's time now. We're just going to watch ourselves on the screen. There's no credits.
You mean I actually left?
I
left right on time. Right on time here. Now we're just going to look at the election results now.
Aren't we still on? We're still on.
And why are we still on?
You've already dropped the ball. We're still on TV. My earpiece hasn't been working the entire time.